Hello, everybody, and welcome to Samudra Shakti Online. This is our November 2021 presentation. Samudra Shakti Online is presented by Lisa and myself. We've been doing it now for over 2 years. I started in 2019. Samudra Shakti Online. It came out of a Colorado-based United States teacher gathering that we had in 2019. And Deb Payne, Lisa Long, myself, and Kim Freeman were the hosts of that. And it was just so much fun. And we had such a great time being together that we decided to keep it going with Samudra Shakti Online. Tonight's presenter is Lisa Long, and she's presenting on Sambandha, which means relationship, actually, in Sanskrit, and particularly a devotion-based relationship. So Sambandha, connecting to your most sacred bone, which to me is still a little bit of a mystery. I could guess a couple different bones she might be talking about, and its relationship to your heart. Lisa will I'm sure, clear up the mystery for us shortly, but let me tell you a little bit about Lisa. Lisa Long is an Anusara certified yoga teacher, and she wants to live in a world where love gives you a permission slip to drop the mask and be who you are. Known for her hearty and full-bodied laugh, which is so true, Lisa meets people where they are in the present moment. She passionately believes in the healing potential of movement. As a teacher and producer, writer, her work has been featured on Good For You blog, CBS television station affiliates, and television cable channel networks, as well as her print manual called Home Practice, a guide for healing from breast cancer. It was published by a 5-hospital healthcare network. When she's not helping others reach their fullest potential, you'll find Lisa hiking a trail to a waterfall or riding her bike at the beach in her hometown of Jacksonville, Florida. Her latest well-being collaborations launch in 2022, so definitely look forward to that. Tonight's presentation, we hope that you're all wearing comfortable clothing. We will be exploring some asana, and we'll be talking about some very rich ideas. So this is a good time to create a space for yourself in order to do that. And if you don't have one, grab a notebook, pen, and pencil for journaling. And without any further ado, I want to turn you over to Lisa Long.
Thank you, Madhuri. I am
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. I'm super excited to present. This is a presentation about connection, and I'll be asking all of you who are here with us live to connect with me by responding in the chat, which Madhuri will be monitoring. And I really am hoping that you don't leave me hanging out here alone, okay? So let's practice the skill. And if where you are right now is light outside, type an L in the chat. And if it's dark outside, type a D in the chat. And Madhuri, you know what's going on in the chat? Are we seeing some L's and D's come in?
I'm sorry, I was muted. Yes, lots of D's, a super D, and I think I saw one L in there, which is exciting.
Oh, good. All right. Well, good. Thank you guys for responding. So as Madhuri said, Sambandha is in the title. And it's funny because, you know, Madhuri knows how to pronounce Sanskrit way better than I do. So I like to say Sambandha, and Madhuri's like, no, Sambandha. It's a Sanskrit word, and Sanskrit is a dead language like Latin. No one really speaks it. It is the language of yoga, and that's how many of us have come to fall in love with its economy and precision. So as Madhuri mentioned, there are definitions for Sambandha, and it could be considered like binding or joining together, a close connection, union, or association. It could be conjunction, inherence, connection, with relation to, a personal commitment like marriage, Some other definitions based on context might be relationship, fellowship, friendship, intimacy with, and friend and ally. So have you ever been blown over backwards by life? Drop a 1 in the chat. Has anything ever hit you in life that you've been like, whoa, I can't take this. This is just taking me down, knocking me for a loop. How we doing, Madhuri? Any ones in the chat?
We're getting ones and ones with exclamation marks.
Oh.
Am I still muted?
No, yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, ones
Okay.
and exclamation points. Exactly. Like you get to a certain age and you don't have to live too long before you recognize, yeah, life's going to keep coming. So thank you guys for responding. I'd love for you to take a moment, if you have a paper and pen, and journal just, for a few seconds. Recall some notes about a particular life event that you endured that really pushed you back as you tried to remain upright. Maybe you're in a life event like that right now. So just, you don't have to write full sentences, but you're just writing it down. And if you feel comfortable, you can add a few keywords into the chat box, and Madhuri will read them. She will not read your name. She'll just be reading, some of these life events as keywords. So if Madhuri, things are coming in the chat, would you be willing to share those?
Career. Divorce after 25 years of marriage.
Yeah.
Death. Divorce. Death of a sister. Relationship changes. Unexpected pregnancy. Being fired.
Yeah, thank you. These are big things. Yeah, these are big things. Well, here's my story that literally kept blowing me backwards while I tried to remain upright. First, let me tell you, in yoga, I'm really not what's called a drop back, back bend kind of person. I'm usually not the person who will drop back into a back bend or take a back bend just for fun. Well, on this particular evening, I had just returned from a horrendous 10 days trying to be of help to my struggling parents. And I'll just let you imagine what horrendous means, since the details will just take too much time. As soon as I landed in Florida, I got off the plane and I went straight to the beach. The sun was setting. I just needed to ground and have the salt water heal me. My daughter, who's a nurse, joined me, and she was concerned for my well-being. I had begun itching while waiting for the plane to take off. By the time I arrived in Jacksonville, my torso was covered in welts. As if the stress of the past week was not enough, my body was covered in bed bug bites. I literally dropped back into this shape as a prayer of supplication. Hot tears were streaming down my face. I just couldn't take it anymore. I knew there was much more I still had to do for my parents. And now there was more I had to do for my own healing. And my daughter, she snapped this image of me. And it's really poignant because life was literally blowing me over, but somehow I was staying upright. So what did I do? What did I do from there? A lot of this. Right? Self-care. And I really have learned to practice what I teach. So let's practice now, just for a moment together. So I'm going to stop the screen share and invite you to practice with me. Easy stuff. If you're in a chair, you can stay seated. Just make sure you have room. If you'd like, you can stand up. We're just going to take a few simple shapes to get us kind of warmed up for our diving into our topic. And we're going to focus specifically on heart openers. So if you're going to stay in your seat, sit well, come to the edge of your seat, root down into your feet and your sitting bones. If you're going to stand up, stand well, feet a comfortable distance. And let's all take a big breath up. Just reach out and up. Yeah. When things are coming out, it's hard to stretch out. One more time. Inhale, big breath up. Exhale your arms down. Let's take a wide stance with our feet. If you're standing, you'll take a little squat. If you're seated, place your hands on your thigh bones and tip forward. So you're weighting your feet by pressing your thigh bones back towards your hamstrings. In breath and come up. Let's do that forward fold 2 more times. Exhale as you tip over. In breath as you come up. 1 more time. Nice. Work your feet together. Come to the edge of your seat. Inhale, take a big breath up. I'm teaching right, left, practicing right, left. So I'll be doing right, left. Right arm down, side bend to the right. Breathe, relax your right shoulder. Equally weight both sitting bones, both feet. If you're sitting down, if you're standing, weight the 4 corners of your feet evenly. Inner heel, outer heel, big toe ball joint, baby toe ball joint. In breath and come up. Exhale, release your arms. Both arms up again. Big reach out and up. Exhale, left arm down, lateral bend. So we're opening up the space of the heart with these few simple movements. Yeah, the side of your heart here in this lateral bend. Press both sitting bones down, press into both feet, in breath and come up. Exhale, release your arms. If you're standing, you'll take a wide stance. If you're seated, take your legs a little bit wider. Inhale, take a big breath up. And as you exhale, left hand to right knee, left hand down to right knee. So you've already entered a twist. Breathe. Check out, do you want to look down, a little head nod looking down, or do you want to look up towards your right hand? As you weight into both sitting bones evenly and press down into the 4 corners of your feet, breathe. Turn your left ribs just a little bit more to the right. On your next in-breath, raise your left arm up, big reach. Exhale, right hand down to opposite knee. Breathe. Weight evenly into both sitting bones. Turn your right ribs just a little bit more to the left. And then check out, do you want to nod your head down? Would you prefer to look up? Breathe. In breath, both arms up. Exhale your arms down. Work your feet back into the midline. Inhale, arms up, hands into the back plane. You can grab onto your chair if you're sitting in one. And then with your feet pressing down and your sitting bones pressing down, press the chair down. If you're standing, just clasp your hands together in the back plane. Breathe. And as you reach down through your tail, lift up through your heart, widen through your collarbone. Yeah. Big front of the heart space opener. Release your arms. Reach up big. Open your arms out to a T. Bring your right arm into the midline. Take your left arm underneath so you're in eagle arms. If your arms don't touch, still press them towards the midline. If they touch, go ahead and touch them and then also press the midline. I'm just turning sideways, and as you lift your elbows to the height of your shoulders, you can add a little head nod. So exhale, nod your head. In breath, lift your head. Exhale, nod. Inhale, lift. One more time with your breath. The next time your head is balanced on top of your pelvis, in breath, open your arms out wide. Exhale your arms down. Second side, in breath, reach up. Yeah, open your arms out to the side plane. Bring your left arm in first this time, and then your right arm underneath. Eagle arms, second side. From the back of your heart to your elbow tips, reach forward. And then again, as you feel ready, with your next exhale, nod your head down towards your own heart. Turning to the wisdom of your heart. Keep breathing with the movement. When we trust the wisdom of our heart, then we know that our resiliency comes from a place of grounding peace. Next time your head is balanced on top of your pelvis, in breath, open your arms wide. Exhale them down. Arms into the front plane, palms down. Take your right arm, cross it on top of your left. Turn your thumbs down to the earth. Thread your fingers together so you've now clasped your hands. Rotate your arms so that your hands come towards your heart. You may get all the way in. You may just get to a certain place because that's as much as your arms want to rotate. So if you can come in, be where you are, breathe. And then on the next exhale, nod your head down. Yeah, turning into this wisdom that's within your own heart. On your next in-breath, as you press into both sitting bones, both feet, lift your head back up, extend your arms out, open them out wide, exhale them down. Second side, float your arms up into the front plane, palms down. This time, left arm on top of right. Turn your thumbs to the earth. Clasp your hands. Breathe. Take a big exhale. Let your shoulders relax. And then check out the rotation. Rotate your arms. Maybe they come in all the way. Maybe they come halfway. Wherever they're getting to is fine, right? And then on your next exhale, nod your head. Bow into this wisdom of your heart. On your in-breath, lift your head back up, extend your arms out, open them wide, and exhale down. Nice. All right. Come on back with me. Come back with me. And let's continue on. So over the years, my own challenges, the challenges in my own life, have gotten me thinking. How are our heavy hearts supported when life is really like pulsing strong? So what do you think? What are the resources that have supported you? Would you drop some of those in the chat? Where do you turn when your heart is heavy? Where do you find support? Let's be allies and friends to one another in this moment and just, type in like, what do you do? Where do you turn? How do you gain support for your heart?
Music, yoga, meditation, family, friends, body movement, EAP, employee assistance program, spiritual reading, reaching to the sky, movement, nature, God, music, nature, family and friends.
Oh, you guys are wonderful.
In silence alone, sacred text, music, dance, yoga, arts, animals, play, arts, dance, yoga, meditation.
Excellent.
So many things. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys, what a wonderful resource list. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those ideas. So in Anusara, globally, we teach these skills, this binding, this connection, this union, this intimacy with our own hearts and how our hearts are supported in Sambandha. So if you look at these images, the first one, Silky, she's from Belgium and she's assisting Isabel. Isabel's wearing the beautiful yellow shirt. And Isabel's from Great Britain. She's supporting Isabel in Ekapada Kapotasana. I mean, Isabel's just about got her foot. She's lifted up so beautifully through her side body and curling back into this back bend. She's practicing this and she's smiling as she does it, right? And then if you look at the middle picture, it's Jay from the United States. And I love looking at this images because I'm looking at him and his students, and it's literally like they're pushing, what's coming at them, life back, right? Yet they're practicing steady through the legs, up through the heart, curl back. And then this last one is Gabby, another certified teacher in the Anusara system. She's from Mexico. And She is showing a student like, yeah, you can drop back into a back bend on one leg and balance. Yeah, so this is what we teach. We teach the skills of how to support our hearts while going upwards and backwards. Now, this is a common teaching theme, and we often call it root to rise. So the idea is that in order for our hearts to lift, it has to be anchored. It has to have a relationship, a friend, an ally, a place that will receive the weight and allow it to move through. So where do you guys think, anatomically now, this is an anatomical question, where do you think our hearts are anchored? So are you willing to put some thoughts in the chat? And there's no wrong answers, right? Because we can have anchorings, in lots of places. Lots of tensegrity lines if you study those ideas about the body. What's coming in, Madhuri? Are you muted?
Nothing yet. No, I'm not muted. Someone's saying pelvic floor.
Okay.
My family. Polyvagal nerve and the fascial connections.
Nice.
Our feet in space.
Excellent. Yeah, and these are great. Yes, all of it. Yes. Excellent.
Grounding in my sacrum.
Very nice. Okay, somebody's really on it. Somebody's on to my presentation. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the sacrum. Excellent answers, you guys. Thank you for responding in the chat. Yes, and the sacrum, what I consider the most sacred bone in our body, it's designed to receive the weight from above, which includes the weight of the heart when our hearts are heavy, and even when our hearts are light. And the sacrum allows the weight from above to move through. It serves as a hub connecting the upper body to the lower body and the front body to the back body. So I'm going to stop the screen share and let's just locate our sacrum. Let's give it a location. So it's a triangular bone in our pelvis. Can you guys see that? Here it is, right? So this is an ilium, and this is the sacrum, okay? So in our bodies, come to standing. It's a triangular bone right about here. It's right above where you split. And we're just gonna tap it. You're just gonna tap it. Just keep tapping your sacrum so that you're waking up to it. Okay, and then you can stop the tapping and let's just talk about the sacrum for a minute. As I mentioned, it sits in the pelvis in between the two pelvic halves. And it's a curved bone. I don't know if you can see that. I think you can get a pretty good view of that, right? That it's curved. It's 5 fused vertebrae, and in this curved shape, it's the initiation of the double S shape of the spine. And where the two pelvic halves meet, the sacrum is called the sacroiliac joint. And that's the joint. You really have to see the joint from the anterior side, the front side. The SI joint is formed by the first 3 fused sacral vertebrae and the left and right iliac bones. Another really important thing to note about sacrums is no 2 sacrums are alike. So here's 2 sacrums, and I'm just going to hold them up, and I just want you to look at them and see if you can see the difference between them. And here they are from the side view. And then from the back view, the posterior view. And then let's even give you this, the top, what we would call the top is actually called the base. The whole language of it is confusing. But where the fifth lumbar comes to meet the sacrum is called the base. Yeah, and see the difference? They're very different. No two sacrums are alike, which means we're all unique. So let's have a little embodiment moment right now and practice receiving the weight from above. And let's specifically think about receiving the weight of our hearts into the sacrum. It's good to come to standing if that feels appropriate for you, or you could stay seated. I'm going to stand. So coming into standing, tap your sacrum, you know where it is, just waking it up. And then tap your heart. So just these two taps, we're building a connection between these two places, right? What's a friend do when they come to see you? They might tap you on the back, right? They might be, hey, good to see you, right? Somebody who's consoling you might tap you on the hand and say, they're there, right? Yeah, so tapping ourselves, waking up. All right. And soften your knees if you're standing. If you're sitting, let the weight descend into your sitting bones and down through your feet. And now just breathe. And you're sensing. Can you feel the weight of your heart, the weight from above? And allow this weight to be received in the pelvis and specifically at the sacrum. And then let the weight move through, moving through the sacrum into the hip joint. And then down your legs, into your feet. Keep breathing. Stay with it. Couple more breath cycles, letting the weight of your heart be received. And let the weight of your heart move through, down through your bones and into the earth, so that as the weight comes into your heels, it moves out through your toes, and your toes actually extend and lay down from this weight. Okay, let's get a little bit more specific. So come on back for a moment if you've stepped away from your screen to practice that embodiment. So this is, what do you think it is? Yeah, it's a breastbone, right? Breastplate, breastbone. Some of us would call it the sternum. One of the things you probably can't see is that there's three bones here, and there's some joints. And there's a joint between this bone and then the long bone, and there's a joint down here between the long bone and the bottom bone, and they all have names. So this top one is called the manubrium. And then the long bone here is called the body. And then this bottom piece here is called the xiphoid process. So we have a top and a bottom, a top and a bottom. And what's interesting is that the bottom is what anchors to the sacrum. And the top of the heart is what lifts. So let's practice an embodiment again and see if we can sense that. All right, so come back to standing or stay seated. Tap your pelvis. Tap your sternum. All right, and let's get really specific now because you have deeper knowledge. Go easy on these taps, you guys. Really loving here at the heart space. Tap high and low, right? So one hand high, one hand low. All right. So breathe. You've got it. You're woken up now. You're like, I got it. I can feel myself. Drop your arms. Breathe. And now as you continue to breathe, as you exhale, can you let the bottom of the heart, can you let that place move through the sacrum, be received there, and then move through the legs into the earth? Meanwhile, from the top of the heart, lift up, open. Can you find both simultaneously? Breathe, and if you need to touch yourself, right, give yourself little taps of remembrance. Because when we trust the wisdom of our hearts, then we know that this resiliency that comes into being when we really need it, when we need to know the ground. It's there for us. And it's a place of grounding peace. All right, so come on back and drop a 3 in the chat if you're still with me. Are you still with me? Drop a 3 in the chat. You're still hanging in. Any 3s, Maduri?
We're getting 3s. Everybody. Unanimous
okay.
3s.
Unanimous 3s. Good. Okay. So moving on, the sacrum. Let me go back to a screen share really quick. It's a lot to manage tech and talk at the same time, you guys. It's like a new skill set. So next slide. The sacrum has movement. It has some movement that's called nutation and counternutation. And the words actually come from the Latin, and it means nod, like nod your head, which you did in the warm-up, a little nod. So the SI joint does permit this very slight flexion and extension. There's 3 things I want to kind of tell you about the sacrum and nutation and specifically. The first is the weight of the body coming down and resting on the sacral wedge. Just the weight coming down naturally causes a degree of nutation. Nutation is the nod. It's the top of the sacrum nodding into the front plane. So if I'm upright, right, this is my sacrum, it's nodding just by me standing up. Just that weight coming down, the sacrum's going to nod or nutate, going to flexion, very slight. This small movement of flexion and extension is really important for force absorption. So if force absorption is a new word for you, maybe write it down. Like it's literally you taking life's blows. And what it does, this little bit of movement at the sacrum, is it creates a dampening quality in the pelvis. It's a very slight rocking motion. So again, I'd love for us to embody this idea of nutation. So nutation is flexion, right? The sacrum flexing. Counter nutation is extension, right? So you can remember nutation is flexion because it means nod, right? And nod, nutation. So here's the sacrum in my body, right? Right back here. And when the weight comes down, just me standing, weight coming down through the column of me, God willing, the sacrum is going to slightly nutate, right? In a healthy situation. The other time that the sacrum nutates is when we go into what I just did. Hip flexion. So every time, the easiest way to describe hip flexion is sitting down, right? So when you go to sit down, that's hip flexion, that's nutation of the sacrum. So come up to standing with me if you're not up, and let's just hand model this. And we'll take 5 little small plies or squats, whatever you want to call them, chair poses, right? All right, make your hand like the sacrum. Remember the sacrum, it's this curved bone. It's like a wilted C, the base of the spine. Yeah, the spine sits here on the base of the sacrum. All right. And it nutates, ready? Make the hand shape like it. As you go to squat down, your sacrum nods. Yeah. Just repeat that 2 to 3 more times and say it every time you do it, right? So exhale, hip flexion, sacrum nutates or nods. Let's do it again. Exhale, weight into the heels. You're receiving weight. Yeah. The sacrum will nod. One more time. Exhale, sacrum nods, receiving weight. It bows to the weight. Good. Still with me? Drop a 3 in the chat. Come on back and drop a 3 in the chat if you're still with me. Getting 3s in Maduri? You can just give me a thumbs
We're
up.
getting 3s.
Okay.
Everybody is so with you.
Perfect. You're with me. Okay. So the next tidbit, I've told you 2 things already about the sacrum, and I'm going to tell you a third. Can anybody type in the chat what the first 2 things I already told you about the sacrum when it nutates? I already gave you 2. Anybody? So the sacrum nutates or nods when it receives weight from above. There should be this slight nodding, this bowing. Weight is coming down. I bow to the weight. You know, I don't collapse, right? Second, when's the other time?
We have taking weight, flexion, squatting.
Yes,
counter,
like hip flexion. Nice, you got it.
Nutation.
Okay. Good, good. So nutation, good. Okay. So the third thing I want to tell you about nutation in the sacrum and when it happens is on exhalation. Sacrum naturally nutates on exhalation. So there's 3 things you now know about the sacrum and when it bows to the blows, the forces of life. So if you just sit here and you just go, sacrum's going to nutate. So let's see if we can embody this too. All right. I would love it if you laid down because that's the best place to feel it. I'm going to demo really quick how I want you to lay down. And then I'm going to get back up, but I'd love, watch me for a second. You're going to come down into what's called constructive rest. But before you get there, do lay down with your legs extended. So when you lay down with your legs extended, naturally the sacrum counter nutates. So which way is the sacrum falling in counter nutation in this position? Towards the earth. I'll answer it for you. All right, so I'm going to ask you to come into a knee bent position. This is called constructive rest. So come down here to the earth. I'm going to get up. You get down. So as you go down, just make sure you just start with your legs extended because you're trying to tune into this bone, and what I consider to be, a very sacred bone. And so can you first feel your sacrum on the ground? And if you can't, kind of tip sideways and, tap the back of you so you can feel yourself. And then lay back down. And remembering with your legs extended, the sacrum will naturally counter nutate. Now, change it if you haven't already to constructive rest position. So that's bend your knees, put your feet flat on the floor, right? Yeah, so your legs are what's called standing. Knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Constructive rest and breathe. Let's keep being a friend and an ally to ourselves as we say hello to our sacrum. And as you inhale and exhale, do you feel a rock? It's going to be really subtle. Let it be what it is. Don't try to make it be something. And then just remembering as you're sensing and feeling yourself here, that on exhalation, the sacrum nutates or nods. It flexes. Keep breathing. Keep feeling this embodiment of this most amazing bone that's like a wedge, in between the 2 halves of your pelvis. It's receiving weight and also transmitting the weight through your legs into your feet and into the earth. So let the weight move through. Place your hands at your heart, maybe just one if it feels good, maybe both. And keep feeling the rock with your breath. The nodding, the nutation, On exhalation, keep practicing. Continue to explore the sensation. When we trust like an ally, a good connected friend, the wisdom of our hearts, when we allow the rock and sway, then we know that this life resiliency that we embody comes from the peaceful grounding of our hearts. Feel this place, the peaceful ground of your heart. Breathe. Take your time now to transition. Come back as you feel ready. If you're inclined, feel welcome to drop a note in the chat if it made sense. You can give me a 1 if you're like, got it, it was clear. You can drop a 2 if you're like, I don't know about that. A 3 if you're like, hey, I was breathing. It counts. I'm not sure what happened, but I was breathing and I was laying there and it felt good. Yeah, awesome, you guys. Okay. Yeah, so we're getting some comments.
We're getting lots of 1s, and certainly part of the subtle body. We did get a 3 and a 2, saying it was very subtle.
Yeah, and trying to do something online and tap into your own experience is a big deal. You may need more time. So I encourage you to practice it and then report back, right? So you have the knowledge now, you have the understanding intellectually of it. And now we'll practice. That's all these teachings are. So that we create the yoga, so that we have the Sambandha, right? We have to practice our skill. So back to a screen share. Yeah. Here it is, you guys. We just keep celebrating life as we endure the challenges. That's, it's not always going to be perfect, but part of our teachings is exactly that. So I just want to thank you guys for joining me tonight and staying tuned in and active in the chat. It's a real delight to have people participate and not just feel like I'm just, talking to a screen and disconnected from you all. So thank you. And thank you, Madhuri, for monitoring the chat and kind of being that conduit to keep the presentation going, but also allow response and thoughts. Yeah.
It was fabulous, Lisa. There's one crazy thing that occurred to me when you're talking about the sacrum and the sacrum bone. And what I have heard, and there's evidence around me to support this, is that the sacrum was called the sacrum because it's the last bone to dissolve after death. It's the last bone to disintegrate in the body. So the sacrum's always still there on the planet. I don't know if you've heard that, but
I believe it. It'll be interesting. I don't know if that's true or not, because I know the femur is also really dense too. I don't have it. Well, here's part of a femur. I don't have a whole femur in the room, but it's a pretty dense bone. And the sacrum, what's interesting to me about the sacrum is how long it takes to what's called ossify. So that means harden. You know, Madhuri's talking about like at end of life and then beyond end of life, this bone is still like in the earth. And it's the last bone to truly harden, and it doesn't harden in us till we're like in our mid to late 20s, and some of us it's even into like early 30s. So Madhuri, it does not surprise me that that's, you know, what's been told, right? Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Any other thoughts or comments? You can certainly open mic right now. I think we have a few minutes, right, Madhuri, for open mic if anybody wants to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lisa, could you speak about the holes in the sacrum?
Well, what I can speak about the holes is it's the fusion, right? It's where these vertebrae fuse. Let me get my other guy over here. All right, so can you see this okay? The yellow
Yep.
is where the nerves are coming out.
Uh,
Yeah. And so those holes are where, remember, the sacrum is comprised of 5 fused vertebrae. Some people, that's different. Remember, there could be somebody who it's more or less. That gets really interesting in dissections, but we're just going to say it's 5. And so it would be, you know, these spinous processes fusing, right? And that creates the whole, if we were to just, you know, talk about it in those terms. But see, this is where the nerves come out, right? And they actually, you know, the whole thing is pretty interesting too, because inside you have the spinal cord, and by the time it comes down into the low back and into the sacrum area, it fans out, and it's called the horse's tail because the nerves just kind of move from being like a central column to a tail, a fan out. The holes, even if you look at these 2 sacrums, so these casts are from different human bodies. That's how you end up getting skeletons. But can you even see how the holes are different in these 2 sacrums? Yeah. Does that help you, Judy?
yes, thank you.
Okay. What, you were just curious about the holes.
That's right.
And why do we have holes? Yeah, it's because they're 5 fused vertebrae. Where the fusion is. Okay. Anybody else?
Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Will.
I love that theme that you're bringing in, the connection of heart to the sacrum. And we talked about it, and then we moved with it. But I was wondering if you have any times when you're really feeling that it's not just like in, like, say, asana flow, but when you're really connecting your heart to the grounding that's there. Do you have, you know, the word ritual or practice or approach towards it that brings that anatomy into the sacred?
The tapping is always like the first for me. And lately, Will, I've been using, I guess I would call it a mantra, and it's aham idam, I am, this is. And you know, I've had a lot of passing away these past couple of years, you know, people passing in my family. And me being on my bike, taking the blows of the bike and breathing and saying aham idam and taking the jolts has helped me a lot. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but
that's good.
was one of the biggest things I've done to ground my heart while still feeling literally all the bumpiness as I continue to go through on the path. Like, literally feeling like I'm gonna fall off, put a foot down, keep going, you know, maybe just stop and stand and breathe. And the mantra aham idam. So it's, you guys aren't familiar with it. Aham is I am. So that would be English. Idam is this is. And so I just breathe in aham, remembering I am. And then I exhale, this is. Now, sometimes I add other words to it, like I am pissed. This is really sucky, right? I might add extra to it. And then I return to the practice of I am. And all of this creation is amazing. And God, thank you for this life. Yeah, thank you for letting me live it. Thank you, Will. Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Will? Because you're brilliant on this front.
I love to jiggle and twirl, because there's so much behind jiggling and twirling. I'm one of those older persons whose my sacrum and lumbar spine have been kind of fusing together and squishing out and stuff like that. So just, to me, the heart is held stable within a flexible pivoting spine, knees and ankles, so for me, that's like, how do we just lighten it up, let the heart be held and be in fluid. And that's how we get Chit Ananda.
So for those that don't know what Chit Ananda is, can you explain that in three sentences, Will?
Bringing the sacred into the present of whatever you're doing.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Madhuri, I'm going to toss back to you because I see that we're closing in on the hour. Thank you, Will. Madhuri, you got to unmute.
Here we go. Hi. Thank you, Lisa. That was lovely. Wonderful. Just one last concluding statement about the shifting back and forth and getting blown, in your life. What would you say in terms of when you're looking at the sacrum movement and getting blown over? What is our antidote?
I don't know what our antidote is. I'm going to say what my antidote is to keep breathing, feel the ground, and allow the sway, allow myself to feel it and allow it to move through me. And I can do all the asana in the world to try to make things happen, but if it doesn't come with the right intention, like, Will nailed it, allowing the sacred to be in every moment. So welcoming. So that's what I would offer, Madhuri. What would you say?
I would say so much right now because it's such a fascinating topic, Lisa. I wish we had some more time. But I'm afraid I would take us over time. But again, I think I'm just going to digest the things that you have said and start journaling and thinking it through for myself, because it's a feast, an absolute feast. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lisa. You're brilliant and beautiful as ever and always. And so good to see everybody tonight. Anyway, many, many blessings, and we'll see you next month.